Hello and welcome to Farm Business Consulting Limited analysis of the May 3rd Statscan stocks report. I'm Ken Ploce and I'll be guiding you through what has happened this morning on Friday, May 3rd and what Stats Canada is telling us with the stocks. So first of all, where we're going to start is the wheat. We see wheat come in year over year at basically 1.2 million metric ton less than the previous year. That's all wheat. And when we take durum out of the equation, CWRS actually comes in at basically about 0.8 million metric ton less than the previous year. So obviously Statscan was wrong with, most likely they're wrong with the amount of stocks that were originally produced, and we saw that as well in our yields. Our yields were lower, not as much as canola, and I think that's what is really going to change on the canola number once we get into that number here as well too. So overall for wheat, it's not really going to impact the market very much. What's going to impact the market is seeding going forward. Be sure to check out a couple charts of the week that I did on corn and Minneapolis wheat, so you can view that at your own time. So once we get into barley, we see actually barley kind of a surprise, even though we're at historical high barley prices, even just about higher than what we were during the drought years in Western Canada. We see more barley consumption, barley coming in at 0.3 million metric ton less than the previous year. And that's interesting to note because we produced basically about 0.8 less million metric ton than the previous year if we look back at what Statscan said we produced. So barley consumption still high. Of course, $8 corn will do that, $7.50 corn. Now the corn's tailed off. Barley really, there's not much opportunity to be importing much corn from the States, because even though corn is trading at roughly about $6.50 a bushel, they've got about a positive 35 basis on that. So once you land that into central or southern Alberta, you'll be looking at most likely about equivalent to $6 feed barley. Lethbridge, of course, is what I'm talking about. Is what 650 with a positive 38 basis corn comes out to, and we see Lethbridge trading at about 615 to 625. So it's getting late in the year and tough to find corn stocks down in the States as well too. Anybody who wants to sell, so it's not like corn's going to be coming up anytime through, even throughout the summer. Now the big number that the trade was really waiting on when we get into what they were anticipating. The trade thought it was going to be closer to 4.2 million metric ton, and we see canola coming in at a whopping 3.9. Year to year, we're down 1.4, and of course, this is very important as we go forward because we're looking at most likely the lowest stocks since 2002 is what we're going to have. And why that's important is there was probably only about 60% of the crush capacity in 2002 what there is in Western Canada right now. So like I've always said, crush is where we really need in Canada, and more than half of our canola is being crushed right now. 1.8 was exported between the last report in December and March is what we exported, and of course 1.4 was crushed. So if we carry that on throughout the year, looking at what we're looking at for the numbers, 3.9, if 4.9 was going to be scary, like I write down here for the trade, then 3.9 will be an absolute horror film, especially with Statscan coming out with their report, and instead of last year's 21.5 million acres in the ground, we were projected at 19.1 million acres. And my analysis has always had it at around 20 million acres. Of course, that was a month ago before we see what's going on outside. So the canola planting is going to come somewhere in here probably. I don't think we're going to see less than 19.1. I think that was a low number to begin with. But nonetheless, even if we come in at 19.5, and it looks like it's going to be 2 to 3 weeks late. So if we're already behind schedule 2 to 3 weeks, it could get pretty ugly here through the summer because, of course, crushers need canola all year long. It's just like malt plants. They don't need it just at specific times. They need it on supply all year long. So if we're already getting tight on stocks, like I said, the lowest since 2002, potentially less than 300,000 ton. Then if we're basically looking at carrying through these crush, there could be some pretty interesting basis levels for fall. Most of us are sitting at a -2 or a 0 fall delivery, and I believe we could even be getting a little bit better once we hit off the combine, depending, of course, what our weather's like when we get, the big one is this 2 to 3 weeks behind or even getting it planted in Saskatchewan and Manitoba. And the second biggest number is, of course, how many acres actually go in the ground. And then, of course, our weather through the summer. So this report, the trade generally takes as a grain of salt. I don't see the market moving much today. But what it does do is it plants the seed for what could be if we get more late planting weather and some heat blast during the flowering of canola this summer. So again, I don't anticipate the market's going to move too much, but you never know. I've been wrong before, and this wouldn't be the first time. So thanks for tuning in, and be sure, like I said, to check out the other charts of corn and Minneapolis wheat under Charts of the Week.